Welcome to FBB Forum. If you like this content, please be sure to like and subscribe to the FBB Forum YouTube and Instagram pages. I'm very pleased to welcome the amazing IFBB Pro Women's Physique athlete and Olympian Evon Pennington to the podcast. Ivon serves in the U.S. Air Force and has been competing in bodybuilding since 2014. In both 22 and 2024, Ivon won the women's physique division at the Legions Sportsfest in Reno, and this qualified her for the 2022 Olympia and then for next year's 2025 Olympia as well. She has a phenomenal physique and lots of beauty. Stay tuned to find out more about her and her future plans. Welcome to FBB Forum, Ivon. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So my first few questions are just about how you got started in bodybuilding, and I was wondering if you had an athletic or a sports background before you started.
Yes, absolutely. I started running track and cross country when I was about, I would say track 12 years old, and then cross country 14 years old.
Mhm.
Prior to that, I did a little bit of cheerleading, basketball, soccer, whatever my parents can get me in, to kind of balance out my energy levels at such a young age. I continued the track and cross country throughout high school, throughout college, and when I joined the Air Force at the age 21 in 2007, I started picking up marathons. After doing so many marathons, I found that I like training for something while serving. It just kind of keeps you athletic and focused. And so I did CrossFit for a year. I did not like CrossFit at all. And then I ended up
No.
bodybuilding after dating a few guys that were into the sport and having some friends that competed. So since then, I've been sticking with it, and here I am.
Why didn't you like CrossFit? Just out of curiosity.
And I'm finding this rivalry between CrossFitters and bodybuilders is very rich and very strong. CrossFit was a little bit too complicated in the movements. And I find that I love the endurance, I love the stamina that's intertwined with a lot of the workouts for the day. But a lot of the movements, the overhead press, snatches, and all the movements they were too complex. And I find that when I got fatigued, my form would get compromised and I get hurt. So I'd rather just stick to something a little bit more traditional. And you can feel other muscle groups being worked if you get fatigue in your form, and you know when to kind of call it quits and whatnot. But when you're competing in CrossFit games and the things that's timed, it's very difficult to focus on your form and put down the weight and take a step back. So I got hurt after a year of CrossFit. Took a little bit to recover. And so when I got into bodybuilding, I found that much safer and easier for me to adjust to.
I understand that. I find CrossFit is almost hard to watch because I worry the movements are so quick, and it seems like you're much more prone to injury, by going so quickly with like the clean and jerk and some of the other movements they do is kind of crazy.
Yes, I would agree. It's not for me. Kudos for the ones that stick to it, but not for me.
I understand. Now, in terms of getting started in bodybuilding, did who convinced you to do your first contest and get involved in it?
I like to give so long story short, I was dating ended up dating two guys that were into the sport, and I knew I didn't want to bodybuild. This was in 2012 and 13. They were really heavy into the sport, but I just wanted to be the girlfriend that was also athletic, but not sharing the sport. So my thing was running, and I thought that we complemented each other, looking so athletic. But I found that when it was two guys that I dated, and one in 2012 and one in 2013, that was into the sport. And I found that when they got so heavy into their prep, that they didn't find me attractive. I guess you get the maybe muscle dysmorphia. What they saw before was not what they saw deep in prep. And I found myself feeling a little bit more insecure the leaner that they got. So,
Hmm.
long story short, the first guy, he moved on to a bodybuilder, and they are still with each other to this day. And the second guy I dated, he's still into the sport, not competing so much himself, but there was a comment that he had mentioned in his frustration with how I looked. And it was that I didn't have what it takes to do what he does. And it really stuck with me. And so
Mm.
say that to say, in order to cope with the breakup, I met a guy I was in training with, um, and the Air Force. He's a coach now. His name is Marcus Cotto, who he turned pro himself in a different federation. He was the only person I knew. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, do you think that you can kind of help me get into a fitness, achieve a fitness look? I'm not sure what category, what have you. He's like, sure. We did an 8 week like cut. It was really just kind of clean up diet, and I lost so much weight. I lost maybe like over 20 pounds. And
Wow.
there was a show. It started 14, summer 14. There was a show in November, which was 9 weeks after. I said, now that I lost some junk weight, what category should I do? He said, figure. I said, okay, there's a show, the last show of the year in my area. It's in 9 weeks. He said, I think we can do it. And I did it. And I swept that show. I did won every category. I did
Wow.
novice, heroes, open, and I won those categories. And then there was an overall for novice and overall for open, and won that as well too. So to my surprise, I was just like, I found something that I can train for that really helps me focus in more in the Air Force, helps me with my fitness in the Air Force. And that never expires. You never get too old to compete. And I stuck with it since. So that's how I got it.
That's Oh, that's terrific. That's a great, yeah, great way to get involved with it too. And yeah, and yeah, that's really cool that you made that leap. And in terms of doing figure, when did you switch to physique?
I did figure for 2 years. I did first show figure in 14, and then I did figure at the it was called Flex Fest in Pensacola, my very first show, the show that I did really well in. And then in the springtime I did a bunch of other shows in different federations. Um and I won those shows as well too, but I also got docked for looking more competitive than they wanted. Um,
Hmm.
I got all feedback. They were like, "Well, you're basically." They said that if we were to reward you with the win, you would set a standard that is impossible to achieve for others. And so I kept getting.
Oh.
I stuck with the NPC IFBB Federation, and I kept coming close. And so in 15 June, I did Team Universe, and I was so close to the pro card. It'd have been awesome to say that I've earned a pro card in 6 months. I got third, and they were giving it to first and second, and I wasn't old enough for the masters category, so fourth and fifth also got their pro card too. So I was the only one in the top five. They didn't get the pro card then.
Oh, wow.
I was really proud of myself to actually make it that far. And then I decided my body was tired. I was going to take some time off. And then I got really impulsive, and I'm like, no, I don't want to lose what I've worked for. And then jumped into the NPC Nationals in 15 with like a 7, 8 week prep. And I ended up getting eighth, I believe. It was the second group called out, I believe. But I was really happy to come that close to the first group called out with such a short prep. And then
Mhm.
super convinced, I'm like, yes, next year is my year. So I take a couple months off, let my body recover, get back into prep, achieve a look that's leaner. But I did Pittsburgh North Americans, and I got second group called out. I'm like, I don't understand. I'm leaner. I don't understand. I took the feedback I got from barely missing it in Team U. And then I did nationals, but at that point I was just kind of going through the motions. And then I got third group called out. And I'm like, I'm doing worse and worse. And
Hmm.
noticed that all of the I was favored a lot in my area when I was doing well in figure. And then I noticed that in 2016, a lot of people were inviting me to things that were fitness related. And so it was kind of a lot of hard blows from all directions. And
Yeah.
transparent, I don't like to blame things on other factors. I'm like, this is the stride, this is the path I chose to walk. I was out muscled, I was out conditioned. I'm going to take some meaningful time off and I'm going to come back. I took 16 off, no, 2017 off. And I came back in women's physique in 18. Um, my legs were always there. It's just I always struggle with my arms, get my arms a little bit bigger.
Hmm.
I did physique since and I love it. So never go back.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, as a fan, I prefer physique because you get to do, the flex and you get to do, kind of artistic posing routine and, it's not as regimented and, figure is cool, but it's also a little bit boring sometimes, I think.
You can say that for me. You can say that. So,
No, that's terrific. Thank you for that background. I
thank
was
you.
curious, do you have a fitness role model that you look up to, or like when you first started, or is there one you look up to now?
Um, if I do, I wouldn't be able to classify that or those individuals as to I'm still trying to find myself in this fitness role. I think what's interesting and powerful about these types of interviews that you learn a little bit about what's inside of the heart of the athlete.
Hmm.
And honestly, I'm going to be completely transparent. Before the age of 10, me doing sports was just a method to have my parents put us in a position, myself, my older sister, and my older brother, in a position to socialize, meet friends,
Hmm.
and to interact. There was never a goal about championships before the age of 10. And then after the age of 10, um, I became more aware of how far you can go in certain sports. And I kind of stuck
Hmm.
track and cross country. And then I saw the highest level you could achieve, but I knew I had a long way to go. But it was also nice to have small goals in between. And so I started goal setting after the age 10, 12 years old, and I get
Hmm.
closer and closer to those goals. Falling into bodybuilding was really a method to prove something to myself. And it was really a method to continue to train for something because I knew that I couldn't do track and cross country like I did in college and high school. And I knew that I was too old to pick up another sport that I might be able to really excel in. But bodybuilding, there was no age limit for that. And so I say all of that to say that I was the type of athlete that was just, I adapted really easily to whatever I was exposed to. Uh,
Hmm.
and I didn't train as hard as other athletes. I didn't know I had to, nor did I train as hard. What worked for me worked for me. I ate foods that people would not approve of. And I did what my body, the bare minimum for my body to respond. I didn't know, I didn't do it on purpose. That's just how my body responded. I took
Okay.
mindset into bodybuilding my first few years in, and you wouldn't believe the workouts I did. I barely lifted in figure. I barely lifted my first few years in physique. I did a lot more cardio. I'm a runner, and I was still able to achieve a look well enough to win and to turn pro. It wasn't until I turned pro where I had to really kind of nail down the lifting, and
Wow.
as we speak to. And so I say that to say, um, as it stands right now, I don't have a female admirer, iconic role model for fitness. I admire a lot of female athletes. Um, and when it comes to what I can do to bring the best version of myself forward, I'm learning that through Kai Green. He's really showing me my potential, and I have a lot of room for growing. So, yes and no when it comes to role models. That's just kind of my story and how I'll stumble across all of it. So,
Oh, that's great. No, thank you. Kai Green is kind of amazing. Yeah. I wonder if he'll compete again, do you think, or do you know?
he's full of surprises.
He's amazing. I love his posing. His posing is so cool. And he has
Yes,
cool personality too.
very cool personality.
I was curious, when was it tough for you to get up on stage in a bikini for your first show? Was it kind of nerve-wracking for you? Or I mean
Um,
that's something about bodybuilding, that's kind of unique, that you have to be confident up there on stage, and with being not much clothes.
the bikini, or in my case, the figure suit. I did not know what I was doing. I ordered apparently the suit a little bit too big. So I had the appropriate coverage where I didn't feel ashamed. I think that when your body looks the way that you want it to look, you're more confident naturally. I think that when you can see that you have a little bit more work to do, yeah, you feel a little bit more insecure. At least that's the case with me and other athletes that I've known personally. I was happy with how my body leaned out my first show. I needed work with posing. I just was it didn't come natural to me. I was just kind of going through the motions. And so that was what was uncomfortable. And you get to a point where you hurt posing, you know you can use some polishing and some improvement, and you're just really to ready to accept your fate, whether it's second, fifth, or whatever, because you want to go back to the drawing board, make the corrections necessary so you can go back on stage confident. That was just the biggest thing that made me nervous about my first competition is um the audience not knowing me. Like you don't want to
Mm,
go unsure of how well you'll do, and there's no one in the audience to cheer you on.
yeah. Uh-huh.
That was my biggest fear. I had a few friends come and supported me, and then they were watching their first bodybuilding show, and then I didn't even consider how comfortable will they be rooting for me. Some people aren't comfortable doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to my surprise, being in close to the town that I was living in, a lot more people knew me than I thought, and they saw my journey, and then I had that root, them rooting for me. But that was my biggest fear. It wasn't the bikini. It wasn't to be told I wasn't good enough or I need to build more muscle. It was the crowd being dead silent. That was my biggest fear, but I overcame it, and now I don't care. So, especially at shows, you get more people rooting for you at these NPC amateur shows than you ever will at a pro show, even at Olympia. So I don't.
Yeah. I've noticed that too at pro shows, and I don't really understand that. I don't understand why the fans aren't more vocal or, cheering on their favorites. Yeah. And I don't think that's necessarily the case in Europe. I think like I've heard that European fans are more vocal, but yeah, I don't get it at the American shows. I mean, even the attendance isn't that great in my opinion. I think that the pro shows should get more people, in my opinion, but yeah, I don't know.
I think we do the pro shows where we'll have our intimate group that might be there in support of us, and we're there to get the job done, get the win, get the pro card or whatever your goal is. And then you invite your parents, maybe you invite your significant other. Those are the people in the crowd. So the vocal rooting and cheering isn't as abundant because you have a smaller crowd rooting for you. Now, there's some athletes that have a big entourage coming, and
Mhm.
but most people are there to root on the person that they're rooting, so they're not going to cheer you on. They're not. And then every category has their own set of audience, and so it's like that for every category. So I get.
That's true.
I don't take that personally, but not knowing what to expect my first show. Now I say that to say that's what happened my first NPC show. I did a show in Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, in 2015 in March. Every seat was filled, uh,
Wow.
and everyone cheered me on. I say this trying not to sound like I'm being boastful. Everyone rooted for me. I got a standing ovation, and because they felt that I was the example of conditioning from head to toe, every angle, and I didn't know anyone. And I felt like a high school prep rally. It really felt the energy of people taking pride in your look and pride in your hard work. And if anyone watching this has time to scroll all the way down on my Instagram, you'll see me taking a picture next to what was my first coach, Marcus Cottle, in a yellow suit. And that was the show where I felt super appreciative of the gratitude that the audience had for my level of fitness. And so it was the only show. I'll never forget it. Every other show was very mediocre when it comes to cheering, but that was definitely if that was my first show, I would be amazed. I would be so addicted to the sport. But my first show, no idea what to expect. So that's
Wow, that's terrific though that you got such a good crowd response. That's awesome. Yeah. Now, tell me about your experience at Legions Sportsfest this year. And I bet it was a thrill to get the win and get your second O qualification for 2025.
Uh,
Excuse me.
before I talk about the experience for 2025, I have to first give you a brief summary of my experience in 2022. Uh,
Mm,
so it was my second pro duet in 22, Legion Sports Fest, and I did the Masters and I did the Open. Um, but a week before the show, we got hit with a hurricane in Florida. And so military base that I'm the closest to is McDill, we had to evacuate to secure our multi-million dollar assets. So most of the workers were given instructions to fly off aircraft, secure our belongings, our assets. That's what we had to do, working long hour days, and then we had to uh, vacate the premises in which the hurricane would take a hit to. So in my case, I drove down to the Fort Lauderdale area to be out of the way of the storm. But that was a week before the show. So I was
oh,
in the hotel room plugging up electronic pots and buying tilapia from the closest grocery mart, eating it bland, trying to find bland seasonings, eating pouch rice and canned vegetables, trying to maintain the diet I would if I was back home. Uh,
yeah.
and I had to fly back, get take the shutters down in my house, put everything in order just to fly to Legion Sports Fest. So I fly to Legion Sports Fest completely puffy from the stress of the rapid week. And then
Yeah.
the Masters and took second. I'm like, I did not look like this 2 weeks ago. And I was really in my head about it. And I wasn't eating the best. You'll have foods that you load up on, but then that's just right before the show. I kept eating the food because I'm like, oh, that's no point. No point. I've already lost, and it's because of factors I couldn't help. I kept eating. I would rather not specify, but it's all the foods that you can get away with when you are um, the morning of the show or night before the show. Kept eating that. I did Masters on Friday and I did Open on Sunday, if I remember correctly. And so I looked worse in Open, but the it wasn't about what I felt looked more competitive. It was the right look that they were looking for. I ended up getting it for Open. I know the girl next to me, Sarah, I can't remember Sam, her name is starts with an S. I have to look up. I know her Instagram name is it's like small but mighty or something like that.
Oh, Sarah Bradley, I think, right?
Is Sarah Bradley? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's right. Yeah, she's amazing.
Amazing physique.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, yeah, she's gonna get it. And then she had just turned pro as well too, and then she got second, and I ended up getting the win. I couldn't believe it. And then I had to remind myself not to be too hard on myself. And I did lose some conditioning flying and making bad food choices the 2 days in between the shows. But it was more that the judges were looking at that I wasn't aware of. So that's what happened 22. I had to tell you that to tell you in 25, my the plan this year was to do I wanted to do in this order: Chicago, Tampa, Phoenix, tried to get an Olympia qualification. And then I also wanted to do Legion Sports Fest to set myself up for next year. That way, when I was in Japan, I had those things lined up. Chicago was not, I needed more time for Chicago. Um, the couldn't do Tampa because it was too soon. The body needed to kind of rebound and come back down in 2 weeks wasn't enough time. Did Phoenix, awesome show. I would certainly do that show again. I did Phoenix and it was really, I got called out first group, but then I was like, maybe I'm fifth, and I kept getting called out. I'm like, I don't know if I'm second. I really didn't know what to expect. And then Jody, who ended up taking the win, we were together in 22 for Legion Sports Fest as well. So I was really happy to see her get the win.
Mhm.
I said, nope, it's not meant for me to go to Olympia this year. That was my last shot. And then I'm like, I'm still aiming for Legion Sports Fest. was able to continue to diet. So all that happened the day I fly out. They close the airport for Legions Sportsfest for another Hurricane Helene. Um,
Oh yeah.
Correctly. So I told Kai, I was like, I can't. I'm gonna try to book another flight out of a different airport that I'm hoping they don't close, but I don't think I'm gonna make the show. And I was already had in my head, no, it's not meant. I'm just gonna have to try again when I'm in Japan. And he was just like, nope, I'll find a flight for you. Found a flight for me the same day because they were closing the airport. It was, let's say it was Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. They were gonna close the airport 2 a.m. Thursday morning. So it is like 5 p.m. Wednesday. He's like, oh, I fly for you tonight. Found a flight that took off 11 p.m., got me out of the area before the airport closed. I slept
Good.
at Chicago because the layover was like 7 hours. Slept at Chicago airport, flew into, I think, Phoenix and then Reno. I forget the route, but got there. I got there early Thursday morning at 10. Uh, and then they let me sleep in, they let me check in the hotel room early. So I was just gonna sleep around. Lost a lot of conditioning in this process again. Um,
Mm.
and so I just told myself I kept trying to sleep and get it off. But the biggest thing for my conditioning are my the rear side shot. I typically have more detail in my glutes and in my hamstring, but the moment I stress or bloat, I lose it. And so I
Yeah.
kept trying to pump up and do what I can. And I was able to pull off enough, get enough of the little water weight off in order to get the win. But like I said, there are other factors to looking at other than the pretty lines and the hard muscles and vascularity that I'm still learning in the sport. And
Mhm.
immediately moved to the center because of other things, aesthetically pleasing shape, muscle bellies. And I end up getting the win. And I look at the pictures, I'm like, oh, wow, you can see my muscles from a distance a lot better than I can see it up close. And I know that that's one of the factors that stood out. So very blessed to go through all of those obstacles this year just to come out on top. And I definitely want to bring the best physique to Olympia with no factors. Well, there's going to be factors, but I have a lot more time to kind of fine tune those obstacles that I ran into. So that's what happened. So to answer your question, just do the best you can. You never know how you measure up. What you see may not be what others see, and you have to go in there with a mindset of I did the best I could, and I cannot be upset. And that's exactly what I did, and I came out on top. So
That's terrific. That's great. I was actually in a similar situation trying to get to Vegas
mm,
Olympia this year, where the Tampa airport shut down and the Orlando airport shut down too. So I ended up driving to Fort Lauderdale and then had a overnight. I drove over there to catch a morning flight, and then I had a long layover in Dallas. But I eventually did get to Vegas, and it was worth it. It was such a great experience. It was a great Olympia. I wanted to see, especially see Susan Graham
mm,
competed her first Olympia, and she really brought it. She looked amazing too. So no, that's cool though. I'm glad that you made it. And yeah, sometimes you really have to, just part of living in Florida, I think. You just have to kind of make, work around these damn hurricanes.
yeah.
Um Now tell me about your experience at the 2022 Olympia. And what was your placement there, and did you enjoy that show?
So in 2022 Olympia, it was surreal. For me, I didn't know what to expect. So we get there. Our day on the stage was, I believe, on Friday. So we had to be there, I think, Wednesday to check in. I might have gotten there Tuesday. I could be mistaken, but I get there and I was super just stoked to the hotel. The venue was beautiful. So I get there. I'm trying to figure out where to check in at. I get into the room. The room is beautiful. At least the layout of the hotel is beautiful. But I had a hard time figuring out where I can go to warm up my food, as I had brought my food with me, and then every place I was directed wasn't. They didn't have the microwave I was looking for, so trying to figure out how I was going to eat the food that I have conditioned my body to eat, warm was a bigger struggle. But I found a workaround for that. And then we get to the check-ins, and I see all the athletes. I meet a couple athletes, but there's certainly a hierarchy when it comes to these class of athletes. You have the top five women that are their own clique, and then you have the other groups that were just kind of like they are their own clique. Then you have the newbies that this is your first trip, and you're just kind of like watching and waiting to see what happens. So I
Mm-hmm.
certainly identify that as well too. Obviously, top five, they have uh, their, I forget what it's called, but it's like a kind of a live interview afterwards.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Uh-huh.
so that, and then how you feel certainly comes out whether you want to share it or not in that interview. For me, I was just trying to follow instructions. I was like, okay, so we check in, we get reimbursed money, we get a tracksuit. All these things are cool. We get to meet people, go back to our room, get ready for the meet the Olympian. Um, I guess what I meant to say before was press conference was what the top five would have. After the press conference, everything, there's a time, I think 8 o'clock, to meet the Olympians, all these tables with your name on it. So that was very surreal to see. I had a little table with my name on it, but I didn't know to bring stuff for people to want to purchase. I didn't know that. No one
Oh
bring.
yeah. Uh-huh.
I,
Sometimes people sign the photos and stuff. Yeah.
uh, the girl next to me came prepared because this not was not her first Olympia. She had photos, she had stands, she had shirts, all kinds. And so every athlete had a bag of stuff that they wanted to sell, and they were signing autographs, and some lines were longer than others. And to my surprise, I had a little line myself. People who knew who I was, they're like, "Hey, I've seen you, I've been following you," and they want to take pictures with me. And I didn't have anything for them to autograph at my table, but they had things they wanted me to autograph, so I felt special there as well too. So that lasted, but that would keep you up 11, 12 o'clock at night. You still have to get up early to get ready for your show. So
Yeah.
go to bed. I come back, and it was fast, fast, fast. But it was great. It was just like any other show backstage, but you are with the world class best athletes. And so
Yeah.
you'll see the ones that are given extra instructions, kind of given um, more guidance as they are what people are coming to. They're who everyone's wanting to see. Whereas I'm still trying to figure things out. Where's the lineup? Where's the pump up room? Where can I go to the bathroom? I'm still trying to figure things out. And so we go through all that. You do your thing on stage. Um, and just like any other show, it's just a little bit different because you are like, you, at any other show, they rush you. They tell you 60 seconds to do your poses, and then right before 30 seconds. They always do this at other shows. And so you have to make
Hmm.
a decision if you're going to listen or do what you plan to do. At this show, I wasn't rushed, but at the same time, I wanted to be considerate of the time as well too. So I just did basic standard poses for my presentation and do anything creative because I just feel like I've earned the right to do anything creative for my
Mm.
second press or 45-second presentation to display my body. And then everyone goes through. First group's called out, second group's called out, and so on. Really happy to get second group called out. I was fighting for the center. I really wanted to get top 10. I placed 12th. Um, but I really wanted to be looked at and to be able to see the pictures it was, I think they had 8 girls in the first call out in 22. And so, um, yeah, and they had 8 girls in the second call out. So I knew that if I was in the center, I would get like ninth or 10th.
Mm.
Really,
Yeah.
I was right outside of the center. Ended up placing 12th, as I mentioned. But I looking at the pictures of top 8, and then the other group, second group, my group called out. I was able to see what made the other women stand out, opposed to what I had to work with to stand out, and I'm able to kind of apply that. So it was a great experience. Did not I think the communication could have been better because I don't. I could have overlooked it myself, but I came to the night show thinking it was like every other show, and they were like, "Oh yeah, if you're top 10, then you go on. If you're not, your show is over." I didn't know that, so
Yeah. Oh, I see.
mhm.
Yeah.
uh,
That's kind of disappointing, was it? Or?
They felt bad telling me. So I came back and I was appreciative that I learned. I think it was her name. She was third that year, Brooke. She was just like just so she felt so bad telling me. She was just like, oh, what was your placing? I was like, I think 11th or 12th. And she was just like, usually, unless it was sold to something differently, the top five they do the routine, and then the 6th through 10th they display themselves. If you place outside of 10th, there's not a role for you in the night. She said it so eloquently. And I'm like, I really appreciate you telling me that. I did not know. You look great. I wish you the best. She felt so bad telling me
I understand.
the feedback. So I went there, and then going to the night show was a disaster because I had locked myself out of the room and I started restricting.
Oh,
But I was like, you know what? I didn't have all my numbers and passes with me, but I told my father, I'm like, we need to go because I don't want to mess my calling, just to learn that I just missed the top 10, and I didn't have a place for me in the evening show. So, and then backstage was super crowded. And then the show went as expected. People did their routines. And then it was a big upset that year with Natalia getting the win and Sarah taking second to her. But that's what happened. So I'm like, okay, when I go back to Olympia this year, I am going to prepare for Meet the Olympians. I'm going to dress in the beautiful Olympia colors, the black, white, gray, and red. You never know what color dominates that year. I am certainly going to have, now that I've gone to Olympia before, I'll definitely interact with more Olympian athletes, polishing my posing, polishing my flexing. That's something I need to truly work on, evening out my body in the areas, tweaking my posing so I can display my body in its best angle. And then and then actually coming up with a individual presentation that's not standard.
okay, yeah.
So I've definitely learned a lesson. You need to go to see what to expect. You can't just go to your first Olympia and some have, but and just win it. You gotta, unless you do a lot of research and studying, you know what to expect. You have to know what to expect. So going and getting that first one knocked out is very important. So great
That's
experience.
great. I hope that you do get to do your finals routine this upcoming year. That'd be awesome. Because I
Yeah. Oh, well, you never know. I'm gonna certainly strive for it because I can't sell myself short. I don't make the best decisions when I sell myself short. So I'm certainly gonna go for it. We'll see what happens.
one thing I like about the finals at the Olympia is just the spectacle of it. You know, the lights and the lasers and the music, and it's kind of cool. It's like a little overwhelming too. It's like
It,
I can imagine for the ladies on stage because it's just like there's a lot going on up there. Whereas, prejudging is just not that elaborate, of course, for Olympia. But yeah, no, I hope that you get to up there on that final stage for sure. That'd be great.
the
Yeah.
smoke and you see your silhouette, and then you see all these like LED lights. It's really cool. So
I know, I love that. That's so cool. Yeah. Um, yeah, and they have you up on the big screen too. It's kind of cool to be up on the big screen, I think, as well, so um the I was curious, did you get any feedback from the judges in terms of where to improve your physique or your presentation?
I usually my coach seeks out the feedback from the judges for me. Um, I I don't know. I'm just that's what I do. I'm very honest. I sought out feedback one time. This was not when I was a pro, and I applied that feedback, and I placed worse. So
Hmm.
I almost don't like seeking out feedback directly. I do like the route of going through my coach because it's almost like sometimes the judges consider how you feel when telling you feedback, and you don't get the full story. But when a third party that's involved, they can kind of make the necessary adjustments in order to apply that feedback. So that has worked better for me. The feedback that I've gotten through my coach when it comes to Olympia stage is really surprisingly it's conditioning and posing and just more confidence because I'm very cognizant of how I display myself, especially being a uniform wearer in the military. Um, I always feel like I need to get bigger, but my coach is like, it's not the size. The size is not the issue. You need to get leaner. Being leaner will give you the illusion of looking as big as some of these women, maybe even bigger. You got to get leaner. And I have to figure out how I can get leaner. Um, is that going to be the result of more cardio, more lifting, training? What does that look like? Diet. So that's something I'm trying to figure out. But posing, um, the polishing my angles so I display myself and just owning the stage, walking out, knowing that I look the best that I've ever looked, and I'm not worried about anybody else. That would really set me apart. So that's certainly what I'm going to apply this year.
Terrific. I think you look really confident on stage now, but and you just yeah, have a great presentation. Your finals routine is really great. I think so. Yeah, very graceful. You have a great look.
Thank you.
I was curious, how are you doing time wise?
One more time. How am I doing?
Oh, just in terms of time for the interview, I didn't want to keep you too long.
Oh, I'm okay. I thought you said
Okay.
something. So,
Oh no, that's cool. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure. Um, I was just curious if there's any advice you could provide to ladies who are looking to earn their pro card. I know it takes a lot of hard work and dedication, but any tips you could provide and from your journey?
yes, I'm happy. Thank you for asking that. I'm happy to speak on it. For I am a firm believer that the beautiful sport of bodybuilding, they considered every athlete, every size, every age rank, or age grouping. There is a category for everybody.
Hmm.
I think for any athlete, you have to decide how you want to look and commit to looking that way and believe that you could actually look that way. I say something, and this is going to be we hear this, but no one ever actually explains it, the whole mind muscle connection. Um, I don't know about other people, but I've been in situations where when you're using more senses, uh, those five senses, your touch, your smell, your taste, your eyes, and your hearing, you are more connected. So when it comes to weightlifting and bodybuilding, how connected are you with your training? How connected are you with your vision of how you want to look? A lot of us aren't. We're just kind of going through the motions, and it shows. It shows on stage. But when you commit and you believe that you can look a certain way, you can achieve that look. And it took some time for me to actually, and I'm still working on it myself, to really understand that. And I say that to say that a lot of athletes they dismiss one athlete's hard work because they think that there's outside factors that influence it greatly, and that's not always the case. Uh,
Hmm.
they there's no factors that influence their look, but it's what you want to believe and achieve. And I'm finding and people will look at my physique and they'll say, "You look amazing," and I'm looking at my physique, I'm like, "Oh, I'm a little out of shape." That's how I view myself. But for me to display my look for what I've worked for, I have to really maximize my training and my posing,
Yeah.
really showcase it. So what you see on stage is what the athletes look like at their peak posing, and they've practiced that and they've mastered that. It's not all these other factors that you've been convinced or influenced to believe. And so, a lot of it saddens me because a lot of athletes they see something they like and they dismiss it. They say, "Oh,
Mm.
they're incorporating factors that I don't believe in, I don't care to," and they dismiss it and they don't want to strive for their journey. You can
Mm.
you can do it without any influence. I need more people to believe that. I need more people to believe there is a category for everybody at any age, and you'll see how far you can go. And I wish I could speak more in detail about it, but people are going to have their opinions and say what they want to say, and believe what they want to believe. But if anyone hears me, you can do anything you believe in. You just have to truly believe. And the last example, yeah, I'm not only am I in the military as a leader, I'm a teacher too.
Oh
Last
yeah.
for all my weightlifters, when you are squatting or bench pressing and you tell yourself, I can't go another rep, you rack the weight. So the moment you stop believing, you stop achieving results. I am saying this with a the unmeasurable amount of passion. What you believe will greatly influence your results. So I say
Yeah.
that, and that's my stance on what you can do in the fitness industry in the world.
That's good advice. No, I appreciate that. And that's I think that's good for folks to hear, for especially up and coming, amateurs that need to hear something like that. So no, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, you mentioned you have a coach. Who are you working with now?
Uh, I'm working with, his name is Blue Taylor. He, if you go on his page, you see a bunch of male athletes that look like monsters. Barely see athletes. But I really like his approach with female athletes. He makes sure that we are very healthy in the sport and we're able to continue on. And so, not to say that other coaches don't do that, but I just really like his approach. So I've been with him for 5 years, and then before him, I was with Marcus Cotto, who our method was flexible dieting, which really introduced me to this lifestyle of maintaining a pretty fit physique year round. So could not be here without the two coaches and my journey.
That's terrific. Blue Taylor, as in the color blue?
So his name is spelled slightly different. It's first name is spelled Bleu instead of UE, and then Taylor's a typical spelling. So yeah, that's his name. I believe he is a pro as well too. I don't think he's competed anytime recently, but I do believe he achieved his pro status at some time. So
And do you have a posing coach too, or are you working with him on posing?
I work with different people on posing. So it depends. As my body changes, I have to change my posing, and so it just depends on when that's appropriate to change. So posing is certainly going to. Not only do I have to find the right angles for how my body is shaped that year, I have to truly flex every muscle, and that's not something I've incorporated and practiced doing in my journey. So a lot of
Yeah. Is there, oh no, that's cool. Did in terms of any names that you want to mention or for posing coach or?
um not at the moment because I still have posing work I need to do.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I
I don't
understand.
want to shame or discredit anyone that's been trying to help me. Once I master my posing, I'll be very happy to list the handful of athletes that's been helping me polish up my posing. So,
Okay, very cool. I know there's a good one in Florida. Sharonica Hinton is in Florida too, but I know you're going to
well,
be,
this year, I know she was in Florida.
yeah, she's in Orlando actually. Yeah, but yeah, she's awesome. And she had a big comeback this year too. So it was pretty.
Yeah, she did really well.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I was curious, what would you say is the most challenging aspect of competition prep for you?
um, really, most athletes say it's a diet. I'm not used to the diet. I don't like eating the diet now. I didn't like when I was in flexible dieting. I was more challenging for me. It's sleep. I'm struggling
Hmm.
balancing sleep hygiene. I have a solution in place now, but to kind of walk you through a timeline of my day, wake up at 3:30. I'm out the door
Wow.
in the morning. I'm at the gym at 5. I'm out of the gym by 7. I'm at work 7:30. I'm off of work, changed by 5 p.m. Back in the gym by 5:30. Out of the gym by 8 p.m. I'm home by 8:30. Settled by 9:30. In bed by 10:30, 11. So if I have anything interfere, I have to stop by the store. We have to work late hours at work. It shifts my my timeline to the left or right a little bit, and I'm getting less sleep. I do catch up on
Yeah.
weekend, but I think that my look can be greatly improved with better sleep hygiene, and I cannot help the distance I have to drive to work at the moment, and I cannot help the fact I had to break up my training. I just not enough time in the morning or afternoon to train the way I need to at this level. So I only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep per night. Uh,
Mm,
that's
yeah.
the if I can be in a situation where I'm getting 6, 7 hours of sleep during the week, I think that would greatly improve my physique. But I love different forms of marinating chicken. Always exciting every week. What flavor am I gonna have this week? Love fish. I love seafood. There's nothing I don't love when it comes to love steak, sushi. So a lot of the foods that complement a physique to look lean year round, I love.
Good.
Very rice and potatoes. Those are my carbs of choice. Love fruit. When it's the season to eat fruit. Um, I'm not really big on sweets. When it comes to sugary drinks, typically do unflavored, like carbonated water or water itself. I don't really sweeten my water with any like crystal lights or anything. I don't drink Gatorade often. Um, so naturally, I'm attracted to foods that help you stay lean. So the diet isn't an issue, even when we have the lower carb days. Training is an issue. I love um, running. That's my cardio of choice. I couldn't run this year. Was this past year was a struggle for me because I got hurt, I got injured. I had a hamstring pull, so I couldn't run for like 5 months of my prep. Love
Wow.
love sprinting, interval training. Um, love the cardio, and then if the energy is right and I have time, I don't have to rush. I love weightlifting and how you look and your pump, how you feel after. So I love the process that you need to go through to bodybuilding. And with diet, weightlifting, and cardio, you feel responsible. You have clarity in your thinking. Your sleep quality is better. You have more energy. Your memory is better. Just so many factors that aid with this lifestyle. So I love the lifestyle. It is the sleep. I need to really, really master a regimen to get an appropriate amount of sleep so that I can truly see the results I worked for. So that's my biggest struggle.
I totally understand that. That's tough too, not getting enough sleep like that too. But the way you described it sounds like a really full day too. I mean, you're not screwing around. You got a lot going on. So yeah. Um, I was curious, in terms of the military and being in the Air Force, how long have you served in the military? And I know you're going to have a big move coming up here soon too.
Mhm. So I've been in the military that's 17 and a half years. I'll hit 18 in April of 2025. It was, I love it. I'm in the Air Force. I am medical. My specific job in medical is public health. So for those of you guys who don't know it, it's like the health department for the military.
Hmm.
You're involved in everything. And so our job greatly impacts other military service members and their ability to do the job that they're set to do. So great
Okay.
impact. I'm an E7, so I have that's a senior non-commissioned officer. So I have a bunch of junior airmen that I supervise and oversee and help develop. So it's very rewarding in that sense. The military itself, that's the priority. It always comes first. And so if they need you to deploy and you're going to Olympia in 4 weeks, you're deploying, and nobody is going to expect otherwise and anything else otherwise. Now
Yeah.
with our leaders are very, very flexible. So they try to work with you and your personal goals, but
Okay.
your mindset has to be the mission is first, military. And that certainly is my mission, my mindset. I have been very fortunate to have very supportive leaders that try to work with me so that I can accomplish what I need to accomplish without interfering with my personal goals. So
Good.
that's 18 years. With me saying 18 years, most of you guys would know then retirement's right around the corner. I don't hope to retire at 20 years. I hope to stay in a little bit longer. I
Okay.
really love the structure of the military and the accountability of having to come to work. It helps me wake up on time, train on time, drink my water, eat all my food. When I'm off, there's no accountability to wake up early, which means there's no accountability to eat my food on time. So I really do love going to work. I just would like to live closer at my next duty location in Japan this upcoming February so that I can get more sleep. So that's the goal.
Oh yeah. We talked too about you'll be in Japan, but you're not old enough to qualify for Masters Olympia yet because you have to be 40 plus. So
Yeah, I got a couple more years in. So if I were to do the Masters Olympia, it would be in 2027. I think they have it every 2 years. And then in 2027, I would be 41. at that point. So this time I just get a chance to kind of be in the environment, watch it, root on a lot of the athletes I've watched come up in the sport, and just kind of see the results and enjoy the experience.
That's terrific. That's very cool. That's exciting about going to Japan too. Um, the oh, in terms of, I was curious, like your coworkers in the Air Force, how do they react to your bodybuilding career? Are they supportive?
Very, very supportive. I have had the best time in bodybuilding in Florida. The When I was in Northwest Florida, that's close to the Destin area. I was there from 2009 to 2020. I've had my I had a billboard with me along with a couple other key athletes for a couple years up. I've had posters of me in certain stores, supplement stores, just big, huge displays. I was on flyers for shows, a lot of support, a lot of love. And that's a good look for the military because you're able to say, just like, not that I would ever compare myself to Ronnie Coleman, but he was a police officer for a good amount of years, very respected job. And to say, wow, you do this job and you still train and you're so um, iconic and you're the way that you stand amongst the other athletes in the world is amazing, mind blowing. So to be able to say in the military, anybody looking outside looking in, wow, you're in the military. It's a very demanding job, and you're still able to keep up with your fitness to the point where you are a standard in most shows in most areas. That's amazing. It's really good look in the community. It really draws people in. It inspires the junior enlisted members to have goals that they want to stick with because I'm older and I'm not 21 anymore like I was when I joined. I'm older. I'm almost 40 years old, but I'm still able to display a fitness more competitive than the 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. And so it is inspiring for my junior airmen enlisted folks. It is and my senior leaders are very appreciative and they recognize the positive influence I brought to the Air Force. So I'm very proud to display I'm a service member, active duty, and I'm a bodybuilder, still climbing her way up. Most people hide what they do because they don't want the attention. I like the influence that I'm bringing to anybody inspired to join the service. And so you can do it. I encourage you to join Air Force. I'm very supportive towards your goals, but you can definitely
Mhm.
any of your personal development and your goals in the service. I'm certainly doing it, and I think anyone else who cares to do it can do it as well. So,
That's awesome. That's very inspiring too. I think that's awesome.
thank you.
Um, I was curious, are your parents supportive of your bodybuilding career?
They are, it's funny. I wish I had more pictures. I'm gonna have to ask my dad for pictures. The We all just kind of grew up. I thought it was normal, but I actually got teased a lot in high school for being lean. Looking back at the pictures, it was so small, but I was always so naturally lean from running track.
Yeah.
It appeared that I was very muscular, and it was very normal looking for me. My brother looked that way, my sister, my mom, my dad. But looking back, I'm like, we weren't really that big, but we were just always so naturally lean, and were very responsive to any athletic sport that we would encounter. And so, but in high school, I say that to say I would get teased. I would get teased. I say, you look like a man, and you look like a boy, and
Really?
it be a
Wow.
it never bothered me because, like I said, if you it's all in your mind. I liked being thin, and I liked being toned, and I liked being strong, and I wasn't gonna let somebody who didn't agree with it make me feel differently. I liked it. But if I didn't like looking that way, it would hurt my feelings. So I was doing my thing in track and cross country, so I like looking that way. So I say that to say the muscular look was very normal for my family. My dad did not do sports growing up, neither did my mom. I think my grandmother did some running. My maternal grandmother did some running, and my paternal grandfather did some powerlifting. Somehow maybe it translated to me, but I say that to say picking up the sport of bodybuilding and expanding the muscles I've always had My parents are they're just like supportive of it, and they're interested to see how far I can go. They are always been supportive of having goals, sticking with it, and being a good sport about learning the journey if you fall short of your goals. And so I know that a lot of athletes, their parents aren't always that supportive of it. It's just a different case with me because I think it's familiar to my family. So very blessed.
That's really terrific. Do they come to your shows or did they try to?
Yes, my dad, he goes to my shows. If his my dad's a teacher, so if his job allows it. Well, my dad, he's retired military. He did Marine and Air Force split service. He did first 13 years Marine. He finished out his time in Air Force, and then he retired. Now he's a teacher at one of the high schools in California. So if he's not doing something very important that week, or doing sometimes in the summertime, the students might travel to Europe or something. If he's not like in the middle of something, he'll come to my shows. And it just my dad's the type of person, he doesn't care if he's the only one cheering.
Oh yeah,
He's going to cheer loud. He might even get people to cheer with him. So he's just had that extroverted personality. And
great.
it used to really make me feel self-conscious to have a silent crowd. Now I don't care, but he still he still does it. And so it's always great when he's at my show. I say that to say the last two shows I did this year, I went by myself. Because my dad typically goes. I had my sister go with me to Chicago this past year. But I did Phoenix and I did Reno this year by myself. And to be honest, it was I wanted to just get in and get out. But if I'm being honest about how I felt in the decision to go by myself, I didn't want to disappoint my family. I didn't want them to come, take days off, videotape, and get all their friends excited just to place below what they hoped that I placed. I, I didn't feel bad, but I felt bad for them. So I'm like, yeah, let me just go. I don't want to affect anyone, and I'm just going to do the best I can. So I ended up winning Legions Sportsfest, and there's nobody that was there with me to see it, but it was okay because I felt bad, just to have my sister come, take all these days off, make arrangements for people to cover, and then I place it's not bad. I know people will see it differently, but I didn't do what I know she wanted to see. So I did the last two by my show, but it is not because my family isn't supportive. It's just because I kind of made a decision to do it by myself. But and my mother, that's the goal, to get her out, come to a show. She's very routine, likes to
Oh,
support far and virtually, but I'm trying to get her physically to come to one of my shows, and that's the goal in the future. So yeah,
oh, nice. That's great that your parents are so supportive though. So
yeah.
yeah. Now, do you have kids or do you hope to have kids later?
I do not have children. I would like to have kids later. I know that that seems to be the trend for a lot of bodybuilders, having kids in their 40s. So as long as you're healthy, you can do it.
Yeah.
Do so. If I'm being honest, I would like to have children at the tail end of my career. I
Okay.
want to compete with the attention I give my children versus the attention I need to give the Air Force, especially at such a high rank. I know it's possible, and I can certainly start earlier on if I had my family closer by. But I would like to, if that's in my path, start that journey towards the end of my career. That way I can retire and just focus on my children's development and their goals and building their confidence at such a young age, and just be there to support them in their journey. So if it happens, it happens, but it probably will be in my 40s.
Terrific. No, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, this kind of goes both ways. I know some ladies who have their kids and then they start bodybuilding in their 40s and
Mhm.
then but then a lot of them had their bodybuilding career and then had their kids in their 40s and basically retired from bodybuilding too. So yeah. I just have a few more questions. You still doing good on time? I don't want to keep you too long. I was curious, you have quite a following on social media. It looked like on Instagram, you had like 25,000 followers. Do you ever find it hard to deal with that demands of social media, just keeping up with comments or DMs? And hopefully you get mostly good DMs and not the trolls and stuff.
As a not, 25,000 followers is, um, it's a decent amount. I know there's other athletes who have triple the amount, if not triple that. But I think the more followers you have, the more susceptible you are to the trolls and unpleasant comments. Every now and then, I'll get um, some comment about what people think of me or what have you. But I watched something within the last 48 hours that really kind of channeled in that mindset of negativity and people. Some people purposely go to your page and your stories to look for things to shame you to the
Mm.
world. The reason they do that because they want others to agree with them, because they don't want to take accountability of what they're not doing. Everyone has a different way that they display jealousy. And you can dismiss and say you're jealous, but understanding some people react differently. My form of jealousy is not to hate the person or discredit the person, it is to take accountability of what I'm not doing. If I want the result
Mm.
they have, what can I do better? That's how I express my jealousy. We all have it, but there are some people who are just furious at your accomplishments and they want to shame me for it. And they want to dismiss you as working hard, and get others to focus in on something that explains that you accelerated in your career or your journey through other factors or what have you. There's just people out there like that. They're having a
Mm.
hard time dealing with something inside of them. And so my message is to make people aware that that does happen, and treat them with kindness. If they're harassing you, block them. First the block.
Yeah.
But understand that some people just have a hard time processing things, and this is how they react. So I always have remorse for people. If you are just bored, looking for an opportunity to get a rise, I would recognize that very quickly, and I would end the conversation and probably block you. But it doesn't happen often. But I do recognize it does happen, and my goal in this position is to help everybody find their reason why when it comes to the fitness journey, whether it's health, whether you want to get stronger, whatever the reason is. It's very rewarding to live through that reason, and versus trying to discover it. And so I'm not going to have someone on my comments page communicating something opposite of that message. And so
Mm.
yeah, if I have to delete, I'll delete. If I have to block, I'll block. But my goal is to really communicate to the person, hey, the way that you're thinking isn't always accurate, and I'll give them some advice or wisdom. And if it's rejected, I planted the seed. You do what you will with it, and then if I have to block you, I block you. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And it's it doesn't get to me often. Every now and then, it gets to me. And it's not
Mm.
because it's the message. It's like, why would you? Everyone has a different heart, but why would you communicate to others everything you're believing, just throw it out the window because the only way this is possible is X, Y, and Z? Why would you do that? Like,
Mhm.
it's not
Yeah.
true. The message that we as athletes are sending is if you have a goal, go after it. You'll go a lot further than you think. You just have to believe. That is the message we are all sending. And
Mhm.
everybody has different factors that they incorporate to accomplish their goals. But why would some troll go on my page or someone else's page and say, everything you hope, all your hopes and dreams, throw it in the trash because this is the only way? Why would you do that? That's sometimes that bothers me. It's just so hateful. It's so demeaning and so negative. And
Mhm.
I know you can't control that in the world, but I just think that the world will be a better place if we all can just uplift each other, be positive and supportive. So, but I am a leader in the military, so I'm like a mama bear, and I talk that way often. But that's truly how I feel in my heart. And I want to see more positivity. And luckily, I've had more support than I had negativity. But for all those trolls out there, that's how I feel. That's my message for you. So
I like that. That's a good message too, and it's good that that you respond to them and try to turn them around too. But yeah, that's why I call it anti-social media sometimes because it just brings out the worst in people sometimes, and And they're, you know, keyboard warriors too, you know, they're just looking to get a rise out of you. So, but yeah, but that's nasty. I just, you know, I don't support that at all, that, you know, that nastiness. So
Yes.
um I was curious, do you ever have to deal much with overbearing fans like on the other side where they're like a little too too obsessed with you or whatever?
Yes, I do. As you can see, I don't post as often because it's balancing the amount of attention you draw on both ends.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, you can go on my and see the things that I value. You can tell a lot about a person from what they have the intent to post. Not even just about what they post, but the intent to post. What do you want audience to think of you? You can clearly see it's going to be fitness, family, um, and my job, military. That's what you can see. And you're going to see a lot more fitness than you are my family, and not because I don't value my family and my loved ones, but because I don't want to draw unnecessary attention to them that they don't want. But
Yeah.
the military work accomplishments of my subordinates, maybe some of my accomplishments because of the ability to have a cohesive work environment and to communicate. Hey, just because I'm bodybuilding and I'm bodybuilding full time doesn't mean I neglect my work. I'm
Yeah.
my job at work. And just because I'm doing my thing at work doesn't mean I fell off the train when it comes to bodybuilding. So that's one of the reasons why I try to balance a lot of military posts with bodybuilding. And then I have a few pictures of my significant other on social media, but it's not about that. It's just to communicate, hey, I'm taken. Chill out.
Yeah.
And if you are, you're gonna get blocked, whatever. But it's not to post our every move and our every date and everything that we do together because I like to keep my personal life private. So I say that to say I post not as often as some other athletes to mitigate the trolls and to also mitigate the people who are borderline harassing you.
Yeah.
And that does happen a lot. I immediately, if I get a compliment in my DMs, I'll acknowledge the compliment. I'll say thank you, but I'm not trying to start a conversation. And if you try to start a conversation, I would read it. I will not engage. And if I'm getting messages, you're having a conversation by yourself, I'm gonna probably block you because at that point it just feels like harassment. It just feels like and some people get upset and they start to offend and like insult you because you're not responding to them or whatever. Any negative energy, I'm just going to block because I'm going to tell you what people would do. Just you're trying to be nice. You get a message and you engage in a conversation. And if you say anything that can be misinterpreted, they'll screenshot that. It's all over a different
Oh.
social media. Now you're discredited trying to be nice to these people, these complete strangers. And so like I'm like, if you have an opportunity for me and it's to the point, I will engage. If you're trying to have a conversation with me and I don't know you, I will not engage into it. So it's just you have to be careful with people, and there's a lot of technology, and people will mix up your words and what you say. And I just want to, as I mentioned, protect people I care for, family, showcase balance of career, military career, and bodybuilding, and show people where I'm at in my journey when it comes to bodybuilding. That's my purpose of having that social media. So,
That's great. Yeah, I like your Instagram is good with the bodybuilding and the military posts, and yeah, and I think that that's exactly what you should be doing. I think in terms of your kind of strategy, in terms of dealing with social media, um and like I said, you know, with the trolls, it can be anti-social media, but also fans can be too. You know, I think so. That's why I tell the fans need to behave, so they need to be good out there, and you know, and don't so they won't get blocked.
that's what. So I'm just gonna block you, so that way I don't have to. But it still happens.
I'm just going to ask one more quick question. I was curious, what do you think is the most kind of misunderstood aspect of bodybuilding by the general public? And I think there's a lot of myths about bodybuilding that are perpetuated by people looking from the outside that really don't understand how the sport works, you know?
Um, let's see. Myths, I will focus on, um, there's several myths, start with that, but there's two that kind of hit home for me. And that I really want to focus on. The first myth is that if you are doing well in bodybuilding, it's because of your genetic makeup. It's because you have the genetic properties to align you with the sport. And I will admit that I have been blessed with the ability to grow muscle quickly, lose weight quickly, and gain weight in certain areas. I don't typically gain weight in my stomach, typically gain weight in my hips. So when you translate that to bodybuilding, I'm able to have bigger legs, I'm able to have a smaller waist, and I'm able to grow my muscles. But just with those genetic properties, you can physiologically change the makeup of your body from behaviors. So
Mhm.
because I have these um, traits and qualities from my hereditary line, doesn't mean I'm immune to a lot of the things that you have to consider when it comes to the sport. I can't just eat what I want. I can't train twice a week. I'm not immune. I still have to work hard. And if I don't, then my body, as it changes with age and your hormones change, will revert to the how I'm living and the saying you are what you eat. And so I'm finding I'm naturally attracted to leaner foods. So even when I retire from the sport, I'm probably going to be leaner because of the foods I eat. I'm naturally attracted to endurance-based training, and as my body gets older, I'm going to find what's suitable for me. So I'm going to look athletic years on, but don't dismiss people who look great in their 60s and 70s. Oh, they're genetically blessed. Because that's also creating that mindset of I can't do it because I don't have that love. No, you can physiologically change the makeup of your body from behavior. So that's one myth I wanted to debunk because it's not always the case. And there's a lot of genetic mutants in the bodybuilding world that place second and third to people who work hard because
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
have an edge because if you believe that you're not genetically blessed with certain traits and characteristics in bodybuilding, you will work harder to work with what you have, and that hard work typically translates into that win. I will say in a nutshell, you have to believe, you have to work hard, and you have to continue until you reach your goals, and it's not going to be any limitations from factors that you can't control. So I do not believe that whatsoever. So that's the first myth I wanted to debunk when it comes to genetics. And then the second myth I wanted to debunk is the stigma of female weightlifting, so to speak. If you lift heavy, you're not going to look masculine. And so I say this because this is coming from a former track runner. I am in line in high school, in college, with 20, 30, 40 athletes. And we are all doing the same workouts. We're all doing the same training. We're all doing the same weightlifting. And we're all eating something different, even though our coaches are suggesting what we should eat, night before the show or competition or track meet, or whatever. And then in about 10, 12 weeks, we will all look different. Some
Mm.
people look really muscular, and some of us will, you can't even tell that they're able to run, and we'll still all line up. And the athletes with the best conditioning when it comes to stamina and endurance, regardless of how they look, will win. So I've seen so many athletes that have won with love handles, all kinds of fat in certain areas because of the training and the strength that they have internally. And I say that analogy because there are some athletes that just are naturally leaner for whatever reason. It doesn't translate to weightlifting doesn't always just translate to looking masculine. Weightlifting
Mhm.
can translate to really beautifying what you're working with. And so um, a lot of people associate, if you have a little muscle tone, that's masculine. And I just think that, you know, you are going to be attracted to what you're attracted to. But for the people who like weightlifting and like looking tone and lean, do what makes you happy and do not fall into this pattern of thinking that you can't lift too heavy or push yourself because you're afraid of looking a certain way. That is not always the case. So that's for years I was afraid of that. I was already naturally lean. Just from running, resistance training, I was naturally lean. And I was afraid that I was gonna bench press. I even now, I still even now a bench press, I won't go past 200. I refuse to go past. I don't need to. So it's because I don't want the thick plates. I don't need that for my category. I don't want it. So it's
Yeah.
still in my head now, but like I say that to say that we all line up. We all have different ways that we get lean or get conditioned, whether it shows on our body or not. And then for some people, when we do certain movements in weightlifting, a certain part for me, it's my pecs and my traps get really thick. And then people, it shows really quickly, and people are just like stunned when they see you, and it makes you feel like, well, maybe I do look masculine. No, this is who I am. This always have traps, and I'm always going to have leaner pecs. And if I want to grow them, I'm going to grow them. If I don't want to grow them, I don't want to grow them. But just kind of know yourself. And if you are someone that hasn't had muscle tone that was evident, you can lift as heavy as you like to lift, and you're going to enjoy your results. But if you get muscle tone very rapidly, then what you lift is going to show a little quickly, and you have to decide if you like it or not. So
Yeah, sure.
so many women who need to lose weight because of health reasons, because of confidence reasons, who refuse to lift weights because of the stigma. So,
I
uh,
see.
another
Yeah.
I wanted to debunk. Just know yourself, what you want, and go for it. So,
That's really good advice. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that I think that muscle in women is more acceptable now, but it's still, I think there is still a stigma there. There's concern about ladies lifting weights because of that. They think they're gonna look like Ben Francis or whatever, you know.
she was a power lifter, right? She lifted really heavy and
Yeah.
what have you. Well, it's not the weightlifting; it's the conditioning. That's the problem. In women's bodybuilding, the measures they were willing to take to achieve the level of conditioning. So you'll see some of these women that look bigger than they actually are because they're so lean. I
Hmm.
think that
Yeah.
everybody having a different, um, I guess, art and process of what it takes to get that lean can translate into the myth that we were just talking about. But I don't think it's weightlifting, even though a lot of people think it is. I think it's our ability to get lean and what that looks like in each individual. So
That's
uh,
true.
yeah, that changes the standards. If every year you get rewarding someone with a lower body fat percentage or what appears to be a lower body fat percentage, then eventually we're going to get a bunch of athletes that look like the anatomy chart, and
Yeah.
some people are going to dismiss it and say this is so unrealistic and I have no interest in it. And some people are going to think it's cool, but I think that's mixed up with the stigma of lifting. That's the conditioning. So, but
I got you. I understand. No, that's good. I like that though. I appreciate you saying that too. Um, well, it's going to wrap up. I didn't know. Do you have any sponsors that you'd like to shout out, or would you like sponsors?
I would like sponsors. I don't have any immediate sponsors that I would like to shout out at the moment. I'm still trying to find that balance when it comes to work, sleep, training, and once I find that balance, I'll post more. I'm sure that will open up the doors for sponsorship. So none at the moment.
And is there any friends or athletes or coaches you like to shout out to?
Um, Not the only shout outs that I would like to mention would be um, my military Air Force family, very supportive of me, my family, my mom, sister, my father, very supportive of me when it comes to this journey. When it comes to my friends, most of my friends are in the military. Um, but when it comes to anything more personal to that, I keep it to myself. It's just, you know what I'm doing, you know what I'm going through, you know when I'm fatigued, you know when I'm tired, and you're there, you understand, and that goes a long way, having that understanding from the people who are closest to you. So shout out to Air Force family, shout out to my immediate family, mom, dad, and sister, and that's all for now.
That's terrific. Thank you. And would you mind doing a quick flex for me?
Yeah,
Hey.
First, well, for me, this posture here, I think I can display my arms. So you can do that. You can see that
Yeah. Wow, you look great.
post comp.
No, you look terrific. Thank you. And best wishes to you in Japan too. I'll definitely will keep in touch and hope you got a good gym down there or does the Air Force provide a good gym maybe?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a multiple branches. You got Air Force, Army, Marine, and Navy. And so there's multiple gyms attached to different bases and different posts. And then there's a couple powerhouses and a couple other hardcore gyms out there in the local area that I can get involved in. So I think that I'll be okay.
Terrific. And best wishes to you in 2025 Olympia too. And hopefully you don't have any deployment or anything going on at that time, you know.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll do the best that I can. I'll keep everyone posted.
Terrific. And I'll get this interview posted soon too. But thanks again, Yvonne. It's really nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you as well.
Thank you.